guys ready? Good morning. How's everybody doing today? I'm Mandy Russell, a member of Unity. Welcome to Unity of the Hill Country, where we offer a positive path for spiritual living. Let us pray together. We give thanks for this beautiful day, full of possibilities. We feel God's presence and power in us and all around us. We are truly blessed. Feeling wholeness, we extend this blessing to everybody. We bless all people, regardless of what they believe or who they love. We know that there are many paths to God, many names for God, but only one God. And God is expressing through all creation. We come together this morning to experience and express the Christ Spirit that dwells within each of us. And so it is. Amen. And now, if you'd please stand as you are able and join us in singing our welcome song. With us today. Welcome, you guys. I'll let them introduce themselves. Okay, if you're joining us from Facebook, from home, we would like to take a moment to say welcome and connect in consciousness with you. Let us close our eyes and connect through a deep breath. Please feel free to comment and introduce yourselves. This is our time to be together and share in love. Reverend Carla is back there monitoring our Facebook, answering questions and saying hi, so please come on over and participate. Feel free to post and tweet about Unity of the Hill Country, but please silence your phone so it does not disturb our gathering. Unity is a global, inclusive spiritual community. We offer practical, uplifting resources to help people of all faiths apply positive spiritual principles. Unity provides a positive alternative to negative religious experiences. Please join me now in affirming our mission and vision statements. Together, to live consciously, celebrating the divine potential in all. As well as our statement of faith. There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God, the good, the omnipotent. The Daily Word helps keep the Unity Movement connected worldwide since 1924. This week's reader is Donna Lamb.
Hi, everybody. Good morning, and it's my pleasure to read the Daily Word with you today. We join with millions of Daily Word readers around the world in receiving this message. The Christ candle is lit, representing the divine nature within us all. Today's affirmation is, I am a loving, caring presence. And if you'll say that with me, please. I am a loving, caring presence. Just as the sun shines on everyone and everything, I am a loving presence to everyone I meet. My kind words, welcoming smile, and compassionate actions all spring from the love that is part of my divine identity. Being a loving presence draws me closer to God and to all people. I want to share the love I have known throughout the seasons of my life, at heights of triumphs and joy and the depths of loss and suffering. God is love, and so am I. No matter who I meet or what they're going through, I am loving. I bring support, kindness, solace, and comfort, and share them lavishly without thought of reciprocity. I am the hands and heart of God in the world. And from Romans 13:8, owe no one anything except to love one another, for the one who loves another has fulfilled the law. And if you repeat with me, please, I am a loving, caring presence.
Thank you, Donna. The Unity Movement started in 1889 with answered prayer, a healing of a fatal illness. We are honored to pray with you, and an usher will, place any prayer requests in our lobby prayer chest or email us. And now an usher will bring the prayer chest forward as we prepare for meditation. Please join us in this month's meditation song, Breathe by Karen Drucker. After our period of meditation, please join us in singing Alleluia.
Take another nice deep breath and let it go. Feel your feet flat on the floor. Feel groundedness as if you're growing roots. Notice your lower back against the chair. Notice your hands and whether or not your thumb is cold or warm. Draw your focus from your head down to your heart, and from your heart to the very center of your torso, the gateway of chi. And picture a radiating sphere of light from that spot in the center of your torso, just radiating outward, touching every cell that is your body. As we allow any illusion of separation between ourselves and God to just melt away, we are open and receptive to God's living Spirit of truth. As in all unity meditations or prayer time, we set aside some time to pray for others. So bring to mind any individuals, any groups that you'd like to pray for now. Let's include in that prayer space all of the written prayer requests placed in the prayer chest. Any prayer requests submitted on our website, unityhillcountry.org. And let's see and know that there is divine substance, divine potential, and divine perfection in each of these prayer requests, expressing now as the highest good. Let's now pray for unity of the Hill Country. The God presence as unity of the Hill Country is a divine magnet, attracting anyone in the Hill Country or beyond who can benefit from who we are and what we are about, attracting health, prosperity, love, joy to unity of the Hill Country and all who are guided here. Let us see unity of the Hill Country thriving in consciousness, people, and revenues. And I now invite you to take the words I'm about to say as your own prayer in this meditation this morning. Faith. Faith is my ability to say yes to the God presence and invite it to flow through my life. I accept the realization that I live in the security of this God consciousness and that my faith activates it. In this consciousness of an energy flowing through me, I look out on my life. I see it expressing in my health, in my occupation, in my relationships, in my financial supply, and in my spiritual growth. And I know I can pray all of these things for others and know that the results are unfolding. So as I prepare for 2 minutes of silence, I embrace and express the divine idea of faith in the silence. am grateful. And as I move through this coming week, I remember that belief is an inner acceptance of an idea as true. Faith is the perceiving power of the mind, linked to the power to shape spiritual substance. Faith is a divine idea. I choose to believe that divine ideas exist, and I am willing to express the divine ideas that are right for me. Everyone has faith. What or who am I placing my faith in? I open myself to channeling faith into the world. God works through each of us. I turn up the dimmer switch in my life. I apply faith to the perception of others. And I visualize others expressing their full potential. And for my ever-growing awareness of the omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence of God, I am grateful. And I pray all of these things in the name, in the nature, and the power that we know as Jesus Christ. And I now release this prayer knowing that perfect results are unfolding. And let's do the chant Alleluia as we bring our focus back to the sanctuary. Couple of notes here before we start. I know we hope to have this new telephone coil hearing loop installed at some point in the next few weeks. Start to spread the word so that anybody who has a hearing aid can click on the T-coil or telephone coil aspect of their hearing aid and be able to hear the sound system here right through your hearing device. We'll also have some, if you have not yet succumbed to actually getting an electronic hearing device, we also will have those little, kind of like an iPod that you can listen to as well. I want to thank you for wearing your name tags as I'm getting acquainted with each of you. And remember, kind of got that open invitation to go ahead and however you want to get together, whether it be for coffee or a meal, or if you just want to come in and talk, we can always set up an appointment. I don't know why I'm having such a challenge with this microphone on my head. Okay, better. Also, as I said in recent weeks, there's the old saying, trust Allah, but tie your camel to the hitching post. And one of the, as we're seeing the figures out of the State Health Department and out of the D.C. about how many COVID-19 cases are surging right now, which kind of makes sense after Memorial Day and the 4th of July as people traveled around and got together. So like I said, it's up to you as to whether I wear a mask or not, but that was why I was wearing an N95 mask as you were all coming in. So at any rate, also being July, I would be remiss to not remind you that with people traveling, it would really help us if you would sign up for the regular giving, either weekly or monthly. Revenues are a little weak this month, but like I say, it seems like July and August, that tends to be the way it is no matter where you are in the United States. So let's get started with the Sunday lesson. So through a virtual hug, and good morning. A British psychologist, Haggerty A. Hadfield, back 100 years ago, was researching hypnosis. And he was exploring the sense of, suggestion to people in hypnosis and how much it affects their belief system. And so he chose, scientifically a group of people that he was going to test, and he had one of those things that tests the strength of your grip. And so he got a baseline on everybody, okay, what's kind of the baseline? The average of the group was 101 pounds of pressure. Then he would hypnotize each of the members of the group and suggest to them how weak they felt. And then after they came out of hypnosis, they would grab and test their grip again, and it turned out the average was 28 pounds of pressure. Then he took them into hypnosis again and suggested the opposite, that they were strong beyond their imagination. And he tested their grip again, and this time the average was 142 pounds of pressure off of that baseline of 101. Now what happened? Did he physically add or subtract strength to their muscles of their physical body? Or was it just about what they believed they could do? So what do you believe that you can do? If I were to say to you, okay, how much weight do you think you could lift off of the floor up to your chest? Okay, that's your belief. Now, what if we were to double it? A lot of you have heard this story because it was in Time magazine in 1960, and I know Eric Butterworth liked to share it. So yeah, in Time magazine in 1960, they related the story of a woman who was convalescing. She had been ill. She was sitting on her covered porch, and out in front of the house was her teenage son working on a car. And he had put it up on jacks, and he was underneath the car, and he wrenched something, and all of a sudden it fell off of the jacks onto him. And she suddenly got up out of the chair, went to the car, girded herself, and just lifted up the car. And he crawled out. And she dropped the car, and she collapsed, and both of them were taken to the hospital. And she was checked out, and nothing wrong with her, at least certainly no injury to any of her muscles. But when it came time for her to do something for someone she loved so dearly, she was able to go way beyond her expectations. And I remember Eric Butterworth would talk about the quote that kind of closed out this little article from one of the doctors. He says, wow, considering her condition, I wonder how much weight she could have lifted if she was strong. Here again, what's our perception? What's our belief? Everybody has heard stories like this, the power of our mind, belief and faith. And I want to explore a little bit, well, what's the difference between belief and faith? But this is the third in a series that I'm doing on how to recession-proof our lives. There's so much talk about recession. There's some mixed messages. I mean, the employment numbers are just astounding. How many jobs are being created and filled, and yet at the same time, coming out of this 2-year pandemic, inflation is running away. Suddenly demand has shifted from nil to huge in so many sectors of our economy. And so there's just a lot of apprehension out there. But there is a human race consciousness, accumulation of our individual beliefs. So we have a choice. Do we as individuals want to participate in this recession? You might scoff, but what psychologists and economists have discovered over the years is the economy is only as strong as people's belief in how strong it is. And they'll talk about over the last 100 years, there's always been this cycle of about every 4 to 7 years, there's a downturn, in gross national product, and then it comes out. And so that's why the government has to step in at that point to kind of just inject some stimulus into the economy. And we're in kind of a weird spot right now. And so a lot of people are nervous. But even in the midst of the Great Depression, there are these stories of people who were prospering. I know Robert Letourneau in Illinois, had a truck and tractor company, and it thrived throughout the Great Depression when most people were assuming that it couldn't. Not only would it not thrive, but it might not even survive. But he believed very much in the New Thought principles. Like, no, we're going to continue to serve our customers to the best of our ability. So this, like I said, this is the third week. If you missed the first two and want to see it, it's on our Facebook page, Unity of the Hill Country on Facebook. Also, someone had asked me if there was a book that kind of covers the things that I'm talking about in these four episodes. Yeah, Spiritual Economics by Eric Butterworth. So check out Spiritual Economics by Eric Butterworth at your favorite bookseller. And so, like I said, have you decided to participate in the recession? And this is an exercise. I mean, I look at these 5 areas of my life: health, occupation, relationships, spiritual growth, and money. And it's interesting how in my life and other people's life will be strong maybe in some areas, but weak in others. So if you want to apply the idea of the recession being a lack of something in your life, yeah, you can apply that. So let's talk about belief and faith. What's the difference? It seems like I ask a lot of people, what's their faith? They interpret it to mean, what's your religious denomination? And as we choose a denomination, there can be this kind of package of custom-made convictions that we ascribe to. I know a Unity minister was a guest speaker with a youth group at, I think it was a Presbyterian youth conference. And this 12-year-old got up and said, well, what do you believe about? And so the minister turned it around. What do you believe about that? And the girl kind of stood there for a minute and then turned to the associate minister at the back of the room. What do we believe about that? And so it's up to each of us to decide, well, what do we believe? And even in Unity, we talk about, okay, we have this spiritual toolbox you can use to explore the fact that you're a spiritual being having a human experience. But we don't have any compelling clauses. We don't say you have to believe this to be in unity. It's like, no, that's fine. And over the years, I've had people question various aspects of it. And I even know one Unity minister who says he doesn't call himself a Christian anymore. He says, yeah, sure, I teach these principles and the symbolism of Christianity, but when I say Christian, I know that the vast majority of people are picturing something different than I am. So I want to make sure that I define that there is a difference in how we approach the Bible and how we approach spirituality. So when someone says, oh, I don't have any faith, it's like, no, that's impossible. We all have faith. It's just a matter of, do we exercise it or not? Do we resist it or not? When someone says, I believe in God, all right, so what does that look like? What is God to you, or who is God to you? How do you know that God is active in your life? These are all the kinds of questions we ask each other in Unity Seminary. But how is it relevant to me living my life here in July of 2022? So Unity has this book, it's a glossary called The Revealing Word. So I dug into it and took a look at the difference between belief and faith. On page 23, we find the word belief, and the definition is an inner acceptance of an idea as true. Belief is closely related to faith. Belief functions both consciously and subconsciously. Many false individual and human race beliefs are very active in the subconscious mind. And then you turn to page 67, and faith says the perceiving power of the mind linked with the power to shape spiritual substance. And, back in the second week of July, I talked a bit about substance, how it's this invisible energy that underlies all matter. And when we recognize that in our minds, through imagination and willpower, we can cause that to start to shape into the things we want to express in the world. Faith is more than a mere belief. It's a divine idea. And as I mentioned before, divine ideas are out there all of the time. We have our own individual mind, and there's the divine mind. God, Allah, whatever you want to call it. And when we open our minds to the divine mind, we get these divine ideas. It's something that just sings in our heart, and our intuitions come, wow, yeah, that's who I choose to be. And then we go and express it. So I say, one, just believe the divine ideas exist, and then when your mind latches hold of one, be willing to express it here in this physical world. Let's go back to the revealing word. So Charles Fillmore wrote, faith is the very substance of that which is believed. It works by combining it with the divine idea of love. Thoughts of condemnation, enmity, and resistance must be released. Divine love is declared. Then faith will work unhindered. It's a magnetic power that draws unto us the heart's desire by drawing on and forming the invisible spiritual substance. Faith is a deep inner knowing faith is a deep inner knowing that which is sought is already ours for the taking. And then he quotes the letter to the Hebrews, chapter 11. Faith is the assurance of things hoped for. So we have this faith faculty within us that is a key to our spiritual realization. According to your faith be it done unto you, from the Gospel of Matthew, 9th chapter, 29th verse. So that's from the revealing word. So I remember Ed Rabel at Unity Seminary talked about how we can believe in anything. But when we apply our faith, we're basically saying, yes, this is my identity. So the most effective place to place your faith is in the God presence as you know God to be. And when you do that, it's like just opens the floodgates. Suddenly, the energy is flowing through, and you start to see, the next steps of your journey and what to take. You can place your faith in fear, in worry, in anxiety, in a picture of, you name it. I'm just trying to decide if I want to say this or not. We're seeing an interesting shift in what people believed about Donald Trump. And once we move past and let go of those older beliefs, suddenly it's like, wow. So it's not something to find or attain. We just need to adjust our expression. The Apostle Paul writes, faith is the free gift of God, which all persons have. Only a few use the right way. So our 12 apostles represent those spiritual gifts that the Christ consciousness gives us. You know, when you are open and receptive, of course, Jesus goes off into the wilderness and just sheds some of his fears, and then suddenly he's assembling the 12 apostles. They don't look like much, but when they work as a committee or work in pairs or threes, you know, suddenly things start to happen. So, as it mentioned in the revealing word, okay, can I take my faith and bring love into it? You know, which of course is an attractive or magnetic force. But we can also use understanding and will. You know, all of these aspects of ourself that were represented by these apostles allow us to truly make this world a more pleasant place to be. So I believe that we're all spiritual beings having a human experience. And if there is no separation between ourselves and God, there's a folly of having faith in a God that is distant. And I know even within unity, I've had people, wow, God is everywhere, God is everything. But you really examine a little bit about what they believe, they somehow believe that they are excluded from God because they're not worthy. If God is everywhere, that means God is in every cell of our bodies. You know, and think about the difference in the cells within your body. You know, you've got cells that make up your bone. They're a lot different than the cells that make up your muscles or your fingernails or your blood cells or the fluid in your eyeball. And yet they all work together to express this physical body that your spiritual essence inhabits for a lifetime. So if it's not a matter of believing in God as much as mattering is believing that I am an expression of this God presence. Can I believe from God rather than feeling like I need to believe in God? If God is omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent, which is a fancy way of saying if God is all-powerful, all-knowing, and everywhere present, God is the ground of our being, the essence in which we live and move and have our being. God is all life, all substance, all intelligence, present in the heart of you and me, wrote the Apostle Paul. Now, there are some overzealous teachers within the New Thought movement, unity, religious science, centers for spiritual living, divine science, who, especially early on as they grasp stuff, you'll find courses with the names of the miracle of believing, the magic of faith. It's like, no, it's not so much a magic as just following a law, fulfilling a divine law or a spiritual law. We know that the law of gravity doesn't care who you are. If you don't have something supporting the weight of your body, it's going to go down. And I notice with scientists, do scientists believe in physics or physical law? As you talk to scientists, what you realize is that they have practiced. Of course, one of the whole idea of scientific theory is that if I do this the same way on any given day, I'll have the same results. So they've moved beyond believing in the laws of physics to knowing the laws of physics. And that, when I grasped that, it's like, wow, can I really move through each day knowing that I'm a spiritual being having a human experience? That my mind is always open to divine guidance, that I am always going to be divinely protected. If I embrace those divine ideas, I can express them. So whether you're a rock scientist or you're a scientist in a lab right now coming up with these, this new vaccine that's supposed to apply to any variant of the Omicron variant that they hope to roll out here in a month or two, we express spiritual beliefs and actually can manifest as a physical presence. So God doesn't do things for us. God works through us, within us into the world. We can channel power, presence, ideas. The challenge is that we fall asleep to that realization. So let me give you an example. Most of you have operated a rheostat in your life If you don't recognize the word, it means dimmer switch. You know? So what happens when you touch a dimmer switch? You know, whether it's a slide one like we've got in here or a knob, suddenly the lights go down. Well, from my very rudimentary understanding of electronics, what happens is when you turn the switch, it increases the resistance to electricity flowing through that wire. And that's why the lights dim. And within that resistance is also a generation of heat. But I digress. So when it comes to our spiritual energy, our beliefs become a dimmer switch. So what is it that you really want to demonstrate in the world? What do you want to manifest? When faith is turned up to its highest, we project an energy force, this allness that is spirit. It goes forth lovingly to affect our health, our occupation, our relationships, our spiritual growth, and our money. Another way we can apply our faith is to recognize that if I am a spiritual being, then everyone else is a spiritual being as well, having a human experience. So if we use our faith from this consciousness of God, praying from a consciousness of God rather than to something outside of us, we can see the divine in others. We can be a midwife for the spiritual realization in other people. Just let your light shine. Now, I want to caution you, and that is to rein in your ego. And I have to do that too. I know at the seminar we talked about how, isn't it interesting that when you ask people, wow, if you had a spiritual power, what would it be? And the vast majority of people, I'd like to just be able to reach out my hands and heal people. Okay, but why do you need to reach out your hands and touch them? Then you start to see how the ego gets involved. It's like, oh, wow, what a good boy am I? Rather than, hey, I can pray for someone's healing. I can picture that divine blueprint that they brought into the world with them and see them just shedding all these other little weird beliefs they picked up along the way, or whatever challenges come into their life, allow them to release any detrimental negativity and express who they truly are. So rather than making things right, it's like, can I just see them rightly? Faith that believes in the allness of God that is present looks for the good in any situation, perceives the good that is present, expresses the good, directs the energy of creativity through our faith. As Jesus said, just be in the world but not of the world. So let's go over the takeaways. I know I've got a slide here, and of course you got the insert in your bulletin, and if you are watching online, just shoot us an email and we'll send you these. I've actually got a longer list than I usually do this week, but okay. How does faith work? First, belief is an inner acceptance of an idea as true. Number two, faith is the perceiving power of the mind linked with the power to shape spiritual substance. Remember, that's that underlying energy that is everything. Faith is a divine idea. And with divine ideas, we need to believe that divine ideas exist and be willing to express the divine idea. Number five, everyone has faith. We just need to ask ourselves, what or who am I placing my faith in? We open ourselves to the channeling of faith into the world. Number seven, God works through each of us. Number eight, I remember to turn up my dimmer switch. Number nine, apply faith to our perceptions of others. Number 10, visualize others expressing their potential. And as I mentioned, the book Spiritual Economics by Eric Butterworth, he wrote that during the recession of the 1980s. When we are faced with a multi-tiered event of fear, like, say, a pandemic and inflation and threats of recession, Where have I placed my faith? What do I believe is going to happen? What do I choose to see unfolding in my life? When you ask God for help, you get it. I believe that, and I hope you do too. When you ask God for help, you get it. And as I mentioned before, psychologists and economists have known for years that the economy is only as strong as the attitudes and faith of the people. Whatever happens in the world around you, what matters is what's happening in you and through you. Express faith. Act on faith as a perception that sees the good, the best, the highest, and the most potential in everything. And each of us will have an experience of freedom, fullness, and prosperity. I have a 3-minute video for you of somebody who recognized he needed to ask God for help.
The main purpose should be to serve the living God.
Although no one knew it at the time, Minister Jerome Jones of the Springfield Baptist Church in Monticello, Georgia, recently went through a crisis of faith.
Oh, me. I was getting ready to stop coming to church so much as I did.
The minister?
Yeah. I didn't see God doing anything for me.
So given all that, this thing comes and basically lands in your lap.
Lo and behold, here God shows up.
Jerome says last month he was at his day job with the power company when a note came down from the heavens. It was attached to 3 balloons, and it read, "God, help me go to college. Please help me get everything I need to leave Wednesday." Signed, Micaiah Curry. Micaiah was about to start her freshman year at Albany State University in Albany, Georgia. No one in her family had ever gone to college, which is why she sent up that prayer, scared and worried.
Scared, this is my first time being away from home, and worried, like, as in financially.
Your family has no money?
Not really, no. So that's why I decided to come to college, so my little brother won't have to go through the same thing I did.
Micaiah hopes to become a nurse to provide both an example and a better life for her brother Malik. She got a student loan, but didn't have money for other necessities, like a fridge for her room or even a comforter for her bed. She needed help. Unfortunately, the wind blew her balloons to just about the poorest preacher in central Georgia.
I don't have any money in my savings account. I drained it from the taxes on my mom's house. I said, "Now you see this, right?"
Did you say that out loud?
I said it out loud because this is the way I talk to God. We got away with each other.
You may have a way with each other, but he doesn't understand your finances.
No, he showed that. Evidently he didn't.
When he found that balloon message, Jerome says he had a total of $125 to his name.
How much did you spend on her?
I spent all of it on her.
He delivered a comforter and a mini fridge, and most importantly, a ton of much-needed inspiration.
It encourages me to keep going, knowing that prayers are answered.
Likewise, Jerome also has renewed faith, a good reminder that sometimes the best way to get your prayers answered is to answer someone else's. Steve Hartman, on the road in Monticello, Georgia.
I just want to add, I know in my own life, I've shared this with some of you. When I have a contraction in my finances and I pray and nothing seems to change, what I have observed in my life and in Carla's life is that God is basically grabbing me by the wrists and saying, "Don't do anything yet." You know, it's interesting that Carla and I did not have to sell a house in Tampa to move here because it was like we rented a place and then circumstances were such that, you know, over those 3 or 4 years, there was so many things that were uncertain we didn't buy a house, you know, but it allowed us to just kind of drop things and get here in 3 weeks, you know. So here again, you know, God operates through coincidences. Recognize that when you don't know what to do and you're not getting guidance, sometimes the best thing to do is to do nothing until you get further guidance. From Paul's letter to the Hebrews, 11th chapter, 1st verse. Faith is the assurance of things hoped for, conviction of things not seen. By faith we understand that the world was created by the presence of God, so that what is seen was made out of things which are not apparent. And may you always be open to God's guidance and grace. Thank you.
I would just like to thank God that Reverend Bob and Reverend Carla have joined our community. And I think all of us have felt like that you are family from the second you got here. And it's just wonderful. Okay, so we're going to sing a song, God is my help in every need. The words are up there. And let us get together over here. We're not going to get together over here? I'm asking, are we coming up here or you have to play that? I have to play it. Okay, well then I'm just going to stay here. Okay, so stand as you are able. It's a suggestion, not a... If this is your first time at Unity, we're glad that you're here. We hope that you are finding a place of like-minded people and a place to belong. We teach spiritual tools that can help you no matter what is going on in your life. Generosity is important to us. We want you to know that we will donate $5 to a local charity of your choice. Just write your email on the card in our welcome packet and leave it in our office. We don't want to put you on the spot, but raise your hand and we will bring a welcome packet to you, or you can pick one up on the way out. Do we have anybody that's new? Just wonderful family coming back to us. Oh my God, I can't wait to hug you. Okay. So we now have an opportunity to support our spiritual cooperative. If you would like to donate by credit card, go to our website, unityhillcountry.org, and click on the donate button. Please set up an automatic weekly or monthly contribution. If you would prefer to mail us checks, please mail them to Unity of the Hill Country, 1016 Jefferson Street, Kerrville, Texas. We thank you in advance for your generosity. So let's see. Please bless your offering now, and let us say our offering affirmation together. So, divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I send it forth with my blessings and my love. gratitude for these freely given donations. We send these gifts forward through our congregation and into our world, blessing all that it affects. Amen. Okay. So we have some announcements before we let y'all go today. Let's see. Okay, so I've been asked to let y'all know that if you do want to submit your tithes and love offerings through automatic bill pay, please see one of our staff because we will update the information and then get it set up for you. The Power versus Force book study meets the first and third Mondays at 2 p.m. and it will resume on Monday, August 1st. Hearing loop update. Our installation team was unable to make it out this week, so we will keep you posted on the progress. We recommend checking with your audiologist on how to connect with that once we have it in place. And let's see, what is it? We'll have more information for you in the next week. The Salvation Army is looking for people to help with school supplies for our area children. And if you would be so kind as to join them, you can sponsor a backpack full of school supplies for less fortunate families. And in other announcements, we always need volunteers, ushers, hosts, daily word readers, and maybe soon some kitchen help so that we could maybe start our potlucks again. So now we would like you to please stand, move kind of around, join hands, and let's sing our peace song.